You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K25. It's myself, Mo Mooncey, alongside me as always, three-time NBA champion, Mr. BJ Armstrong. Brother, how are you doing today?
Oh man, only terrific, Mo. Only terrific.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes,
had
sir.
three good games here this
Oh,
evening,
yes, we did. Yes,
and
we did.
morning for you, but
Oh,
it's
man.
three good games. Three good games.
Don't remind me, bro. The lack of sleep that I've had, and it's only been 1 week of the playoffs. I don't know if I'm going to survive this year, but we'll see. I got to do this for the people,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
People
well,
need the
well.
show, so
All the home teams won tonight, Mo. All the
yeah,
home
which is crazy.
teams.
Which is like yesterday, all the road teams won, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. The Orlando Magic returned home to win Game 3. Boston now 2-1 up in the series. The Orlando Magic won 95 to 93. A great game for the Orlando Magic defensively. The pressure they applied to the Celtics. The game a little bit of back and forth. Essentially started the fourth quarter tied, and the Magic just turned up the physicality of the game. Their defense was so aggressive, forcing the Celtics into turnovers. Tatum had 7, Jaylen Brown had 6. As a team, they had 19 turnovers. And you know the rule with the Boston Celtics, when they turn the ball over enough times, they're gonna lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
they went down big. They went on a stretch. They got back into the game, as the reigning champions do. Tied it up, 2.5 minutes to go, and the Orlando Magic managed to close this out. They were targeting Kristaps Porzingis, putting him into a lot of pick and roll actions, making him guard on the perimeter, and they got it done. A little bit of a tough ending there. The refs didn't add any time to the clock, even though it should have been point 0.7. They only had point 0.3, and the Celtics couldn't get a game winner to go. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, 29 and 32 points respectively. Wendell Carter Jr., 10 and 12, double-double. They got it done at home, and we called it yesterday. We said if the Magic are going to win a game this series, they're going to win Game 3. But after what you saw tonight, do you think they can win Game 4 as well?
I think the Celtics will be ready for Game 4. This was a good game for Orlando. I thought this was a very winnable game for them coming back home. And I thought even though they lost the first two games, they played well. And they
Mm.
showed that they can do some things that they can hold on and really gravitate to when they went and watched the film as a group. So I think this was to be expected. However, when you're missing Drew Holiday, that's a concern to me.
Mm.
Okay. And did they say a hamstring? Did I get that right, Mo?
I think so.
With the hamstring. So I'm concerned with that. And so let's continue to watch that without Drew Holiday. I think he is a very, very important piece to what they do defensively.
Yep.
With his on-ball presence, he gives them a level of versatility. They're going to need him, and hopefully he'll get back out there. But I expect the Celtics to figure out how to, win this game and come back and win Game 4. But I think it's going to be tough. Drew Holiday. I didn't expect the Drew Holiday injury, as you never do. I think they only play like 8 guys,
Hmm.
and that's going to be tough. Porzingis wasn't one of his better games. I think he
No.
only had like 7, 8 points.
Three
I
of
don't
10
even,
from the field, yeah.
yeah. So they're going
Zero
to need.
threes.
Yeah, they're going to need. Porzingis and Al didn't play well tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
You know,
that's a concern.
stylistically, it is a good matchup for Orlando. They do a good job at defending the three-point line. The Celtics obviously rely on the three-point line. The Celtics only took 27 threes, which 27 threes in the game is a lot compared to the history of the NBA. But for this Celtics team who want to get up 40 a night, that is lower than usual. They only made 9 of them. When you're only making 9 threes and you play the way the Celtics do, they had a stretch where they missed 10 threes in a row. And, we talk about it all the time. They're just playing the odds that this isn't going to happen 4 times out of 7. Sam Hauser yet to make a bucket in this series. He had another 0 point performance. But I wanted to give a shout out to this young man, Anthony Black, or the Orlando Magic. There was 2 possessions in a row that caught my eye. One where he steals the inbound. The next
Right.
possession, he picks up Payton Pritchard full court and forces the 8-second violation. And, the Magic having these guys that can come in, like Cole Anthony as well off the bench, come in and just deliver that energy and effort and make those hustle plays off the bench. It was a good win for them. They deserve the win tonight. I can't
Yes.
I can't be mad about it. They deserve the win. They played hard and they got this one, and we're gonna have to see if the Celtics can bounce back. We kind of predicted that the Celtics would drop this game, but what's interesting to me is the Milwaukee Bucks. They picked up a 117 to 101 win at home against the Indiana Pacers. Then they now trail one game to two. But Doc Rivers made an adjustment in the starting lineup. He added Gary Trent Jr., sent Torian Prince to the bench, and Brook Lopez only got 14 minutes of action in this one. I think this is a tough series matchup wise for Brook Lopez, who's kind of older and slower, and the Pacers like to play with a lot of pace, and Miles Turner likes to stretch the floor. So the matchups didn't suit, and Doc Rivers made the necessary adjustments to win this one. And boy, did it pay off, because Gary Trent Jr. knocked down 9 threes, tying Ray Allen's record for threes made by a Bucks player on his way to 37 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo put up 37, 12, and 6 as well. A quiet night for Damian Lillard by his own standards as he continues to return from his injury, putting up just 7 points. But the Bucks, the Bucks had a great win, a real confidence booster the way in which they won. They looked kind of down bad for this series. We were all worried about them, but they managed to come out and they got it done. What did you see in this one?
You nailed it with Gary Trent. When you make 9 out of 12, Mo, that's hard to overcome.
He made as many threes tonight as the entire Celtics team did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's 75%. That's big time shooting. And when you get that, and Giannis is going to be Giannis. Now you have the formula, the recipe for success. Now we'll see what's going to happen in Game 4. I don't expect Gary Trent. Is it possible? Yes, for him to go 9 for 12 again.
Another 37 Ps. I would be shocked.
I would be shocked. Highly unlikely. However, anytime they get a 20-plus score from anyone else on the team, along with Giannis, what he's going to do, you have a better than average chance to win the game. So great job. Bobby Portis came in, gave him double figures, and the Green kid came in and gave him 10, 12 points. So it was great offense, for them. They really shot the ball well. I don't know what they shot from the field for the game, but
they shot 47% from the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That when you making shots, that you're gonna have it. You're gonna have a chance. So, give Milwaukee credit. If they needed this win, obviously, and now they have a chance. And if they could tie this up, now you're playing a best of 3 series after this. But I expect Indiana to bounce back. I expect them to come out with a better than effort than a better than
I don't know if they were
better
prepared
effort than they had tonight.
for the lineup change. I don't know if they were prepared. Like Miles Turner really struggled from the field in this one. He was 0 of 6 from behind the arc, 1 of 9 from the field. I don't know if they were prepared for Brook to not play as many minutes as he usually does. Maybe they were kind of
well, 9 for 12 is that's hard to overcome. You can
absolutely
they can change your lineup, but it's gotta.
When you have Nemhard 2 of 8, Miles Turner 1 of 9, and those are 2 guys who you can probably rely on for double digits when it comes to the playoffs, that does make it tough for the Pacers to overcome. Even though Gary Trent had a sublime shooting performance, you could still win that game if you get it going.
If you give me 9 for 12, I don't care where it comes from. It's pretty tough to beat me. I'm not gonna.
When the shots are falling, the Pacers can't play with the same pace where they're getting out and running off misses and so on. Taking the ball out your basket every time. Defense can get set.
That was the story of the game. I mean, that was it. I mean, Giannis is going to be Giannis. Now they have to figure out who's going to be the second and third scorer. And tonight they got it. Great game for them. They pushed all the right buttons. But again, I think the Pacers will adjust and hopefully they'll get out to shooters. But great job for the Milwaukee Bucks, and we'll at least get 5 games in this series.
Yeah, and the Bucks did this as well with KPJ having a very quiet night. He didn't make a field goal either, so we'll see where they can get their contributions from in game number 4. But then the final game of the night, the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Once again, the main event of the evening, the final game. The Lakers lost this one on the road, much to the dismay of everyone on the internet who was saying Lakers in 5. They're now down 2-1 in the series. Minnesota picks up a 116-104 win. They really closed it out down the stretch. Anthony Edwards, a great performance for him in this one. He really is a player that steps up for the big moments. But what I liked about this is from the very get-go of the game, Jaden McDaniels was being insanely aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. He's known for being a good defender, but on offense, they were really going at Luka Doncic, and Luka was suffering with an illness in this one. Jaden McDaniels ended up with 30 points. Julius Randle gave him 22 as well. They got double digits off the bench from Naz Reid and DiVincenzo. So a nice win here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was a little bit back and forth, but they made some shots and they got some stops down the stretch. For the Lakers, LeBron James had an insane performance. He finished with 38 points. He also had 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. There was a little stretch where he made like three threes in a row where he just looked like he couldn't miss. But then after that, he didn't really get the ball back too much. Luka Doncic quiet for his standards with just 17. Austin Reeves gave them 20. And they didn't get much else from anyone else on the team. How are you looking at this, in this series? I think I said it was going to go to 7, but how are you looking at this series right now as it stands? Because I know you were high on the Timberwolves, but the Lakers turned the ball over, 16 times in this? It's hard to win a game when you lose possession that much.
Yeah, it is. And look, LeBron James shot the ball exceptionally well, right?
Hmm.
I mean, he shot a very high percentage from the field here tonight. Had to be over 60% or so. He seemed like he didn't.
61.9%.
Yeah, he was fantastic um, offensively. Now, what I didn't like for the Lakers, well, they were very stagnant on the offensive end. They must improve their ball movement, player movement actions that they're going to do. They're falling into this very predictable offensive, kind of stance of what they're doing is they give
Yeah.
the ball to LeBron, then they give it to Luca, and
That's what they
then
did in game one. And then game two, they had the structured offense and it worked really well. And then they went away from that for some reason tonight. Maybe because Luca was suffering with an illness. I'm not sure why they went away from it. But I hear what you're saying. When they're just kind of taking it in turns, isolating a pick and roll here and there, it's not really the optimal way to play, especially in the playoffs.
yeah. Now if LeBron doesn't shoot at the high clip that he shot tonight, this game would have easily got away from them. Could have easily been a 20-point game. So give the Wolves credit. Offensively, I think the Lakers can shore up some things, and and that's going to start on the offensive end. They have to play with more discipline than what they've showed here tonight. But I still feel that they have a chance here in this series. Okay, Luca is a great player, so he's not going to have for him another subpar game back to back. He's going to have a big game, so you can count on 25 plus from Luca at the
30
bare
plus.
minimum for
Yeah.
next game. Now, where else is the scoring going to come from? Is my big question
Mm.
with this Laker team. I mean, is this the first time they scored over 100? Have they scored
In the
over 100?
series, it's the first time cracking
Time
100
they
points.
scored over 100 points. So Minnesota clearly now has figured out something. And Anthony Edwards was great. I wasn't pleased with their offensive structure as well, but Anthony Edwards is capable of making those type of shots. Now, this kid, Jaden McDaniels, we have to start saying this, Mo. He may be the most underrated player now in the NBA.
Mm.
I mean, he's had a couple of big games now already in the playoffs. I think he's had like a 25-point effort, and then he has a 30-point effort tonight.
Yep.
And he's been known for the most part for his defensive presence and what he does on that side of the ball. And now suddenly it's coming together for him on the offensive end. And he's doing this as the third
But
as
he's
the third
he's doing
guy.
this while guarding the other team's best player as well for
That's what I'm saying.
38 minutes.
So this kid, Jaden McDaniels, now this isn't, just had a good game. This kid is a real player. So I'm going to continue to watch him. I've always liked him, what he has brought to the game in a complementary role, but he's now led them in scoring, I think, for both of their wins, right? I think in game one, he led them in scoring, and then he led them again here this evening. So, give these guys credit. I picked the Minnesota Timberwolves, but this is going to be a series, okay? And you could see the Lakers, they have some toughness. They're going to make shots. I mean, LeBron, I can't imagine him playing any better than what he played here tonight. We had like 38 and 10, right? Uh, so I just think now they have to continue to play with that discipline. And if they can, spread it around a little bit, and get someone to give them some points or some scoring from an unexpected area, I think they have a chance. But it's going to be tough. Minnesota, they went and stole one up there in LA. If they can hold serve here, being up 3-1, that's going to put the Lakers in a very difficult position.
Mm.
So I think that this is another must game for the Lakers to tie this series up and get back home and see what they can do and hold home court. But they need to get a win on the road, that's for sure.
You know, a player who didn't really show up huge in the stat sheet, but made a big impact, Nikhil Alexander-Walker as well. When you talk about underrated players, I think he's in that category of guys who are very underrated in the NBA right now. I like he brings winning contributions to the team. But I wanted to give Julius Randle some flowers here because he has this reputation among a lot of NBA fans and media of not being a big time player in the playoffs. However, when this series has started, all three games he's played very well. So shout out to Julius Randle. It's interesting to me now. Anthony Edwards 9 assists in the first game, no assists in the second game. Tonight he made 8 assists, but also he was making much better decisions. And I said, I think after the last game, this is what he needs to focus on is the decision making for Ant when they throw two defenders at him or when they zone up on him has been so much better in game three compared to what it was in game two. They really had the ball moving again tonight. So his growth on a game to game basis as this series is progressing has been fantastic to watch. The big fella Rudy didn't get a shot again tonight. 0%, 0 out of 0 from the field. Which intrigues me. There's a lot of possessions where I think if you just throw a lob up there, he can get you a couple points, but maybe they know something I don't. But Anthony Edwards really impressed. Just big time down the stretch, no fear, and it's not just the offensive end where he can just pull up, score, or take it to the hoop. The defensive end, they had the call that they managed to challenge and overturn where he stripped the ball away from Hachimura. It's interesting that the Lakers keep going with Hachimura in their closing lineup. He played big minutes once again. Because as you say, outside of Luka, LeBron, and maybe Austin Reeves, you've got to find guys that you can depend on and rely on. So I'm going to see moving forward. But if you were the Lakers, who would you want closing the game? Which five players would you want on the court closing the game for you?
Well, I want the players who are playing the best at any given night. These guys are really good, and they wouldn't be on the team if the coaches didn't trust them or think they can contribute to the team. However, you just got to find the best matchups. You got to, tonight, for instance, for Minnesota, Nas Reed, that's a tough matchup. That's a tough guard. So you got to find a way to guard these other players because you're going to have to get timely stops on the defensive end. So you got to just find the best players who are playing well that evening and go with it. I don't think you can have in your mind, well, this is my closing lineup. You got to find the guys. It's going to vary. You need rebounding, you need matchups, you need size, spacing, whatever it is you're going to need to win the game. So, but I'm fine with Rui. Rui has been a terrific player. He's a versatile defender. So I think he's fine out there. But you know what? It depends on who's doing what from game to game.
Yeah, but this is what I really like about the Timberwolves in particular. Those three guys they have off the bench, DiVincenzo, Nas Reed, and Nikhil Alexander-Walker. They can come up with so many different combinations of lineups where they're just easily interchangeable, whether it's in the front court, whether it's in the back court, and they don't really miss a beat. And this speaks to the credit of how they constructed that roster over there in Minnesota, because they can go 8 deep, but there's no drop off when you go to those three guys off the bench. Whereas for the Lakers, you've really got to have LeBron and Luka and Austin playing over 40 minutes in every game, you know, uh, just to have a chance to stick around in there. You don't have anyone on that bench. They've got good players off the bench, but they don't have anyone who can give them that scoring punch. You're not really too afraid. Like Finney Smith, good defender. Gabe Vincent, he's solid in his role. Vanderbilt, very good defender. Goodwin, solid defender. But there's no one coming off the bench that you're really worried. Whereas when the Timberwolves bring their bench guys in, like you're leaving Nas Reed open to go and double Anthony Edwards. That's going to be a bucket. You're leaving DiVincenzo open. Like DiVincenzo had a nasty play. He crossed over, it was pump fake, crossover behind the back, step back three. That's your sixth man coming in and doing that. So shout out to the bench of the Timberwolves, showing that the depth is really important in these playoffs. And we're going to see if they can take a 3-1 lead in game four or if the Lakers will bounce back. But tonight, BJ, Saturday, some nice early games for fans in the UK and Europe and Middle East, Africa. Starting at 6 p.m. UK time, Cleveland and the Miami Heat. Cleveland have the chance to go up 3-0 in the series, going to Miami. I told you about the comments that Darius Garland made after the game, saying that they just pick on Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero had a few things to say today. He said, "Well, you can't say that because he doesn't play any defense himself." So it's going to be interesting to see those two guys match up. Do you think the Heat can claw one back, or do you think the Cleveland is just going to keep rolling?
I do. I like the Heat, and here's why. The Heat have shown that they're a very resilient bunch and they're a very resilient group. So, they've had every opportunity to fold. I mean, they've had a tough week. Okay. They go from the play-in on the road, I believe, in Chicago, then they go to Atlanta, then they go to Cleveland for two. So this is a very well, deserved rest for them in the sense that they get to go home and see their families and sleep in their own beds and then get ready for the game. So I think this group will be ready. I think they will come out with a lot of energy. They have a great fan base. So again, I think if there's going to be a game to be had, I think this is a start. And if they don't get this one, then it's really over. But I think the
Sort
Heat are
of.
going to put up a good fight.
The next one, the Memphis Grizzlies on the brink of elimination, down
Oh,
three nothing.
this is done. And you can
No
this
Ja
is done.
Morant. We can put
Yeah,
this one
this
in right.
is yeah, you this is done. That one's done.
The Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Apparently, Jamal Murray is also carrying an injury. Aaron Gordon says he can barely jump with his calf. Michael Porter Jr.'s shoulder is still troubling him. I don't know Russell Westbrook's status, but this series is not looking good for Denver right now. The Clippers at home have the chance to take a 3-1 lead. They've taken a 3-1 lead on the Clippers before back in the bubble. Unfortunately, Paul George is not here to stink up the place this time. So how are you, shout out to Paul George? How are you looking at this one? You rolling with the Clippers again?
I'm rolling with the Clips. I,
Yeah.
I told you this is the depth of this Clippers team. I think is far superior than what the Denver Nuggets have. I don't know Russell Westbrook's status. They're going to need everything they have over there in Denver if they're going to be able to carry on in this series. And I think, just physically, Aaron Gordon, he's a little banged up. Everyone's banged up, but I think he's a little bit
Yeah, his
probably
calf
more
is very
banged up.
bad right now. Like, I don't know if
Okay,
they're going to
then
put an injection in
Jamal
it or something,
Murray,
but
you have Russell Westbrook, and of course Jokic is going to have to play 48 minutes. So I think the depth of the Clippers should be enough. And then we can't say enough. I can't say enough about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard.
oh, we know.
I'm
We
gonna,
know.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna
We're
say it
gonna do it
again.
again. The
He's the
Kawhi
best
Leonard
player.
segment. We gotta find a sponsor
Yeah,
for the Kawhi Leonard. New Balance,
yeah. Well,
holla at us.
he's the best player right now.
Anyone can sponsor the segment except for
Yeah,
Gatorade because Kawhi made it very
yeah,
clear that
well,
he don't mess with Gatorade.
I don't know who he messed with, but I can tell you this: no one's messing with him. Kawhi Leonard is the best player. He's the best player on the floor right now, and he's the best player in basketball right now. He's without question. And when he's playing the way he's playing right now, they're going to be very tough to beat. He has such presence on the floor and what he gives his team. And to our young listeners, and I know this is a game now where we're shooting in this 3-point era and pace and space. Uh, but all young fans, get to your spots. It's very rare that you're going to see a player that is as efficient and as effective as Kawhi Leonard. Okay, he gets to his spots. He doesn't have the flash of many of the performers before him. I don't want to start comparing, but when you say efficiency and what he does on both ends of the court, his effectiveness is right up there with any player, okay, that's played at that position. He's that good when he plays. And certainly that performance the other night was just a piece of work. We should put that in our archives as one of the great performances.
Mhm.
It was fantastic. So, Kawhi Leonard, I just hope he can play as long as he can in this playoffs because he's really showed us.
I hope he plays the whole thing
Yeah,
because
if
the
he
Clippers
plays the
fans
whole thing,
deserve a healthy run. They've not had
well,
one since he joined the team.
if
They
he,
deserve it.
I'm gonna say this now. As we got a lot of basketball to play.
Mm.
But I'm going to say this right now: if Kawhi Leonard plays, that's it's going to be hard to beat them in four. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to be
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be pretty hard. Okay, that's going to be very hard to beat them in four.
Well, the final game of tomorrow night, tonight even now for me is 6 a.m. So later on today, the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors go back to the Bay Area, tied at 1 game apiece. Jimmy Butler is status unknown right now for the game.
Right.
He avoided a major injury. However, I think it's like a bone bruise or a muscle bruise or something like that. But we don't know if he's going to play. If he doesn't play, obviously I hope he does, but if he doesn't, it's a very good chance for Houston to still win on the road and reclaim that home court advantage. But how do you see this one playing out? Because we know the arena's going to be rocking as much as it can.
Houston, Golden State.
Yeah,
Okay, let's from what I know, Jimmy Butler is, I don't know what his condition is going to be, his
yeah, it's not
availability, I
known
should
yet.
say.
They've not said.
It's not known. I think that's going to be tough, right? And if he does come back, who knows how effective he's going to be. So I'm going to say this. I'm just going to. I thought that the Houston Rockets should win the series at the beginning of the series. I'm going to stick with that. They're going to have to play a much improved, more disciplined game than they showed in the first two games, even though they won game two. But without question now, they have to win there in Golden State. And that's going to be tough, right? Steph
Yeah,
Curry
they've got
is
to get
going to
one
be
of these
Steph
two.
Curry, and they're going to have to get one. So I'm going to say the Houston Rockets, they seem like they are getting more and more familiar. They play with much more confidence. You got to play a little different on the road. I don't know who's going to step up and be the secondary scorer. Sengun is look like he's kind of
Yeah,
figured
we'll see
out
what
what he
Jalen
can
Green
and
can
can
do if
do.
he can put back-to-back games
Yeah,
together.
someone's going to have to really step up.
Freddie's
Yeah,
got to do something.
Yeah, they one of the Thompson. I think Amen is going to have to kind of settle into this series, right, and be the
Yeah,
best athlete on the floor, and begin to play with a little bit more structure to his game. Because I really think he has a chance to be a really good player, and he's going to get there. But they need him to grow up and grow up fast right now.
mm,
So I'm going to pick the Houston Rockets. It's going to be tough for them, right? They don't have a lot of experience with this group, but I'm going to pick them and stay the course with their depth, their athletic ability, and I think for sure I know they have the toughness to do it, but it's going to require them to really kind of settle in and really play one of those games where they can say this is how you have to play to win in the playoffs. They haven't had that game yet.
it's going to be interesting to see because these two teams is not a typical 2-7 matchup. They're pretty evenly matched now, right?
Right.
So I think it all depends on if Jimmy Butler plays or not. We should find out in a few hours here what his status will be. His agent did text Mark Spears and said, "Pray for the bear," which I think is a reference to, if you see me in the woods fighting a bear or fighting a lion or whatever it is, pray for the bear.
Right.
But cliches can only take you so far. So we'll see if he suits up and he plays. I think he had a similar fall in that series against the Milwaukee Bucks, and then he came back, and the next two games he played, he had insane performances. So if it's anything like that, the Warriors fans are in good hands. But fingers crossed for Jimmy. Hopefully he can get back. But that's
Right.
another night of playoff basketball. Nice quick
Yeah,
catch up
yeah,
for
yeah,
all of you
yeah,
guys.
it is. And you know what I want to point out, and I can't recall this. And I know you are the master of stats.
Okay.
I can't recall since the play-in playoffs have begun, so many starters scoring 0 points
Hmm.
in the starting lineup. Like there's been, okay, you may see this every now and then, but Mo, you're seeing it like quite frequently in these playoffs. I just want to point that out, right?
Yeah.
I remember the one night Kyle Kuzma did it. Corey Joseph has done it for Orlando. Caldwell Pope again for Orlando. Lopez, I think, did it tonight. What's the kid from Golden State? Pozmiski is
Pajemski.
it?
Pajemski.
Pajemski, Hardaway Jr. It's like you're starting to see like guys just have like 0 points, and they're
Yeah,
starters.
I'm looking at last year's playoffs. I don't think any starters
I,
have
I it's just
zero
it's one
points
of these
in.
things. It's one of these things. It was one game. I think it might have been the play-in. where Lively and PJ Washington both had like 0 points.
Mm.
It's like you're seeing this. I don't know if it's a trend or a coincidence,
Game
but
plans or
be on the lookout for this. It's like one of these things you don't see often, or at least I haven't paid attention to it, but I'm starting to see it, and just like, and then you have guys like 1 or 2 points, like Jackson Hayes and
yeah,
Rudy
yeah.
Gobert. You know what I mean? It's like these really odd things that are happening in the playoffs. So just wanted to point that out to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it tonight, and we'll see how it goes. But that's an interesting trend. We'll have to dive into the numbers behind that one. But I'm excited for tonight. We have the chance for one series to end. You have the chance for one team to take a 3-0 lead, and then the Clippers, Nuggets, and the Rockets, Warriors going to be two very exciting matchups, which I'm excited for. But yeah, subscribe to the show. YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Can you tell these late nights are getting to me now? I feel old as hell.
Oh yeah.
I feel old as hell right now, but yeah, I can't even lie to you. And we're still in round one. We're still in. This is 1 week of the playoffs. We 1 weekend, so we'll keep it going though. Got to do this show for the people, so we keep it going. And we'll be back tomorrow, breaking it all down. Nice early finish tomorrow. The last game starts at 1:30 a.m., which means I should be finished by what 3, 4 a.m., which would be a nice early night. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. Lock in for the playoffs and get buckets.